Well, welcome back to Tattoos and Toddlers, everybody. If you could see, we have Jen squared in the house today. I
Watch
have,
out.
I know, watch out, all the Jens are here. So, and I love this every time I do my podcast, every time I go into a networking meeting and I see more Jens or Jennifers, not Jennies, I get really excited.
I know.
So,
We're,
Jen,
we're
welcome to
the
the
original, though. We're the
Yes,
original Jen.
welcome to the podcast, Jen. So go ahead and briefly introduce yourself, and I'm so excited to have you here today.
Yeah, I'm Jen Vazquez. I run a photography and a marketing agency, and I love Jen, so I'm here.
I know there's not much more to be said than that because we met on Clubhouse, and I think it's very important that people know that my Clubhouse friends mean a lot to me because it's these wedding pros and event pros and photographers that I've met over these last 3+ years on Clubhouse. Y'all are like the coolest people I've ever, never would have met, honestly. Never would have met in real life. There's no way we would have crossed paths until we found each other on Clubhouse. I think it's the coolest thing.
I know. And I feel like Clubhouse is probably still, but when it first came out, everyone kind of didn't know what to do because everything out there social media wise was all video. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
just to have that voice, it felt more intimate, more personal, and I hate the buzzword, but more authentic.
Yeah.
And I feel like that really went toward making real true life friendships.
Yeah, and I really like everybody I met on Clubhouse, and we talked for hours and days and weekly and all of these wonderful people. We were showing up every week just talking about real topics and talking about our lives and where are we going to go from here. And some of us were like literally we're making changes in our business as it's progressing. I
Absolutely.
mean,
It
now
was
I hear you introduce yourself now as, your agency. I'm like, "Oh my God, I feel like we've
wild.
gone so far now."
I know I'm actually merging both companies into one by the end of the year. So it
That's
it is
amazing.
it is crazy. And here you are, you were a photographer and then you really built up the weirdo factor, which got you the clients that you really enjoyed working with. And
Yeah.
now you're in speaking on stages and it's like it's so amazing.
It feels like y'all were all there. Y'all were all there with me. You saw me, you heard my heart, and then now I'm just like I feel like I'm just so like living out like we're all watching each other live out what we were going to do
I
anyway. And I
know.
just got to be a part of it as well. And I was just like, "Oh, this is just the nice, warmiest, fuzziest feeling."
It is. It really, really is.
But it's like I brought you on here today because you're like one of the perfect examples of what it's like when you are building a business and you're working on your business, you're working in your business, and you have this very strategically set aside family time devoted to your family. I love this about you. I love that you're very specific about the time that you set aside because I think some of us, we're still trying to figure this out. Like, how do we compartmentalize our life with our, how do we give time to our family versus time to our business and then maybe go have fun time too, like what are some things that you've learned recently even? I know you got some new grandbabies popping in, right?
Yes. I'll tell you, I have always been a person who, in every job I've ever had my whole life, wanted to find a way to do it faster
Yeah.
and smarter, like working smarter, not harder. That is my life mission, I feel. And we all get into this business to be an entrepreneur, to have some, most of us, to have free time, right? Own our schedule, like all the little buzzwords. But I have been militant about that. I will never forget sort of my why, which is my 4 adult children and my husband, and my now 4 grandbabies. One starting kindergarten soon. It's
Oh
like,
my
oh yeah,
gosh.
it's so wild. And I became an entrepreneur because I was tired of leaving my kids before they woke up in the morning, all 4 of them, and coming home after they already went to bed. I was in marketing and sales as a recruiter, and it was brutal like 50-hour, 60-hour work weeks.
Yeah.
And I was kind of done. And so I thought I fell into that trap of work, 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 and not being with my family. And so whenever people go, what's your why? Why did you start your business? And so I like to be very specific and organized to make sure that I'm getting the work I need to get done. But the rest of the time is for my family. I take every Tuesday off, no cell phone, no nothing. All I'm doing is literally on the floor playing with my grandbabies. And it gets me to the next work day. You know what I mean? Like it is it is amazing. And to have, I block all my Fridays. That's like my client work day. I don't have meetings on those days. And then those days are also for my family. If we have a vacation or if we have a whatever it is, I'm making sure that I'm doing the work that I need to do for my clients. I don't want my business to fall,
Yeah.
but it's within this very specific thing. And yeah, but it's taken me years to get here. So I know a lot of you right now might be
It
listening
sounds
going,
so easy when
yeah,
Jen says it.
how do I do this? How do I mean, it is not easy. And when my kids were little, I would be literally after they went to bed, I'd be working till the wee hours in the morning.
Uh-huh.
So we've all been there, but I think my superpower and kind of how I help my clients is to create a marketing workflow, because marketing is literally the lifeblood of your business, but creating a marketing workflow that I have a piece of content every single week, no matter what, without fail. And once that's out there, the rest is my client work. Like that's it. So I kind of have to, I feel, practice what I preach to my clients. And so I've gotten really good at it over the years.
And I love that because we all know that we don't arrive here overnight. We know, and I know the work and the lamenting of everything, having to go through all of this to get to where we are. And I think that's what's brilliant, though, is that there's certain stages, and anybody listening right now, if you're in that stage of you're a new mom and you're trying to figure it out, and your kid's under a year old, and you're having an identity crisis, right? Like, some of us, we've walked through that. We've walked through it multiple different times. And I said, I know so many people with like 5 and 6 kids and, just this making it work. And I think what's important and what I know that about Jen too, you make it work for you. You tailor your
Yes.
life and your schedule the way that you need to get it done. And I think the fact that you made your family a priority from the beginning, well, I say from the beginning, but from your shift
Yes.
into the new thing, you made
Yes.
that a priority. And I think
Yeah.
that's what's beautiful about it is that I think I did something very similar. I was 40 years old when I had Miracle. So it's like I was an older soul, but I thought to myself, well, I don't want to not work. I want to be a mom, but I want to work. I feel like it's part of who I am. Why would I
Yeah.
stop? Photography is kind of easy to pick up and go whenever you need to go. The only issues I ever had was like we're trying to figure out childcare, like if I'm going to be gone for 2 or 3
Exactly.
hours, right?
Exactly. And believe me, that's that's probably the hardest part of working, in my opinion, with kids is daycare. like
Well,
it
that
is
and
it
you
is
have the people
really
that are afraid to
hard.
leave their kid too. You're afraid to leave your kid because you're
Yes.
obsessed with being with them too.
Which is why I'm so adamant about being around my grandchildren and helping my kids. My daughter is a stay-at-home mom, so that's not a privilege that everyone gets, and I
Right.
totally recognize that.
Mhm.
But I know that when I'm there on Tuesdays, she can go run errands or go do the things without bringing all the kids with her, which is like a whole job in itself,
It
right?
is. It is.
So, yeah, so I would say a lot of people don't really have the benefit of family that can help, and
Correct.
a lot of people don't even live where their family is. So we hear you. We're sending you love and strength because it is really hard.
Yeah, it's very hard, and I was in that predicament. I was like, I don't have any family that lives here, and I made friends, and then during the pandemic, my friends that were watching her moved away or they went other places, and they're not super close to get, to be able to call them. And even right now, I mean, my baby is now 7, and if my husband's schedule and my schedule have this clash, I have to remember that at some point I need to find new options for childcare because it'll drive him off the wall if I'm not
Yeah.
here. Like, I don't realize how important I am until I travel.
Or how much we miss our kids when we travel
Yeah.
too, like give yourself some grace. Sometimes doing these big things like speaking on stages or traveling for your job, it also can be really hard, and you could feel
Mhm.
hard, at the heart level. So I'm always of the opinion that we are never going to be perfect parents, but when we have time to be with our children, whether that's in the evenings or the weekends, if you're working full time, make the most of that. Get on the floor, get down on their level, and really listen and play with them, because I'm always amazed at how kids have this fresh perspective, or rather, how our perspective is so skewed after all the years of being an
Yes.
adult. And it's gratifying to really see through their eyes the world. And it kind of makes you a little bit more appreciative of things.
I was gonna say that's a big highlighted point I was gonna ask and run into anyway, because I think even if you don't have kids and you're never gonna have kids, if you just observe small children
Oh,
and the things that we can learn from them, and like you're
yes.
saying with your grandkids, you're seeing the simplicity of life, literally.
Mhm.
And I feel like as business owners, we can overcomplicate, and we can go on these multiple different paths. I was just talking earlier on another conversation about how, yeah, maybe we have 30 things on our to-do list, but maybe only 5 of them really have to get done.
Yeah. Are we being a perfectionist with ourself
Yeah.
or our work or even our parenting, right?
Uh-huh.
When I was working outside of the home and working all those hours, I felt like I wasn't doing a good job. And you really need to bolster yourself by, when you do have time, that you're really giving that time, that focused eyeball to eyeball time, and not just sitting on the couch when the kids are watching TV. And there's no judgment, because sometimes the kids are going to be watching TV when you're doing dishes or whatever you need to get done. Like, truly, there's no judgment. I just feel like if you just give it a little bit of thought, you'll be amazed at the amazingness of our children, and the way they see things. And we're coming up to a presidential election. There's all kinds of
Lots of things
craziness and
happening in the world right now. Yep.
all kinds of differing of opinions and stuff.
Yep.
But when there's kids on the playground, they play with everybody. They don't care what the other kid thinks or believes or knows or loves or hates. They're just in that moment and playing. And I feel like adults we could really
We
use
could
a little bit of
all
that.
learn from that. And I gotta tell you, I am in it right now. We're doing swimming lessons. So this is a life skill, and what I'm observing is exactly that. When everybody goes to the pool, what are they doing? They are playing. They're frolicking in the water. They're floating in their little tubes. And in my daughter's case, she's learning how to swim and some life skills that she can take into her later years of just learning how to float and paddle. And these very simplistic things, I find myself wanting to absorb that and just watch that and think about that, of the simplicity of the things that we can enjoy daily. Now, mind you, it is a time commitment to get over there. But that time commitment I know is well spent because of what
Yes.
I'm going through watching her go through this.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, she's learning life skills, not just swimming,
Yeah.
but interacting and social. I think it's just us when we're adults that we mess it up sometimes by being judgmental, or judging people by what they feel or they think or their religion or whatever. And I feel like we just need to get back to that play or conversation, maybe, as adults.
No, I love that. I love it, and it's just a good reminder of our humanity, regardless of how long we've been alive. for those of us who are 40 plus and we're like, sometimes we have things figured out, but then our kids who are like, 7 and under, they haven't yet to live a life yet. And we should allow them that space to like
Yes.
grow and see and guide them and help guide them some places. Cause like there's a lot of things that are going to come at them as we all know, as we grew up.
Oh yeah.
Things are going to come at you. Decisions have to be made. This world is not waiting on you to make any decisions. It'll run you right over if you let it, right? So it's like,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
but yeah, it's one of those things where I just love having conversations about this. So I'm so glad that we could sit down today and talk
Well,
about
and it's timely,
this.
right? Right now with
So
what's going on in the
timely. And
world.
yeah, with the state of the world, and it's just gonna, and that's why I like talking about things too, is because we all, if we sat down with each other just like we did on Clubhouse and actually listen to people and just have a minute to just really get to know somebody, because that getting to know somebody actually comes with sometimes baggage. They've had a past where they had things happen as a small child or as a teen or anything, and they've had things that have shaped their thoughts and the way they live their life. But how would we ever know if we didn't sit down and talk, you know?
And give the space for people to share. I
Yeah.
think that's missing sometimes too.
And we all need to have this a whole world just be one giant clubhouse room so we could just be like,
I know. It would be so much better.
and I remember that about our group, right? Our group would be like, and Bobby would always say, you have a safe space to come up here. And I really believed her. And it's
Yes.
like, but not every space is built that way. But in that moment, I want more spaces like that. Like you have a safe space to break down and cry if you need to right now, because this is where you are. This is where I am. And I'm having this thing happen and I need to talk about it. I need to be heard. I don't need a problem solved, but sometimes you just need to be heard. And finding those spaces, I think, is a very valuable thing in this world. Like just having a space. Do you have, let's just say do we have individual communities that we sit with and where we can express our, things and safe spaces? Do you have things and insights on that too? Like as we're talking about this?
Yeah. I feel like, one thing that was really cool about Clubhouse when someone was struggling, often as they were explaining what was going on and everyone was listening and that kind of thing, it they would talk about the fact that they don't have a safe space, or that their family doesn't agree with them,
Mm-hmm.
or that their husband maybe isn't supportive of being an entrepreneur, or like whatever it is. And I feel like we all need to get those places. There's of course Clubhouse, there's social media, which is Instagram is not as authentic, I believe, in my opinion, but I'll tell you, I've had some amazing DM conversations with people
Aw.
who said, you said this and it made me think about this. Or on Facebook groups or in networking groups, creative groups that you have in your local area. I feel like COVID was good in some circumstances because it had us be able to be forced to stop and kind of think
Yeah.
and assess,
Yeah.
have these great authentic conversations on new platforms. But I think a lot of people have not sort of come back after that and really went into that sort of networking, right? We're so into social media that there's not as many live face-to-face, eyeball to eyeball type of places. So I mean, I always say to everyone, like, you should have at least one place that you go consistently for that networking. And it could be a Tuesdays together somewhere in the world, or it could be a photographer group, or it could be like whatever a mom
Oh
group.
my gosh, the mom group saved me in that first
They
year and a half.
they mom groups are a great way not just to have that networking space, but also, and advice. Let's just say moms groups advice was like brilliant, because you can hear 5 different pieces of advice and then choose what fits for you. But then you can
Yes.
also really help each other daycare wise as well. So yeah, definitely get into some networking groups. I think that's something that we haven't really come back to after COVID as much.
Yeah, and I think also, like, I feel like as much as some of us were opened up during that time, so many people have closed right back up. And I think that's kind of where I've been this year is in this space of I miss that clubhouse time, but how do I continue to have that in my life with my people that I love in my sphere, but also with the world as I'm opening up to share my story and being open about new connections. And I think for me, for the longest time, I was so closed off to new connections that I was like, well, what's the point of the investment, right? If
One more
nobody's gonna
person, you
care.
gotta tell your story again. It's like, but
Yes.
you know, I've also noticed that over the years, the story that you tell or that you talk about,
Correct.
you'd feel really strongly about it like
Mhm.
years ago, and
Yeah.
now it's something else. Like I feel like it helps us to evolve a little bit too when we're sharing.
Yeah, because you and I talk about this a lot, layers, layers
Yes.
upon layers of healing that has been happening for so many people in my life, particularly, not only myself, but so many people in my life that come, even my clients come in and they've got layers to them about why they want what they want, right? Or, why so and so is not invited to the wedding, right? There's so many
Oh,
layers that as we're meeting other people, I didn't wanna lose that from that period of time where we were locked in our homes and we really weren't able to socialize on the levels that some of us really like. 'Cause some of us like that face-to-face contact.
worse.
And yeah. And then
Yeah.
some of us, prefer the emails, but I was like, it's fine. Emails are fine, but there's something about our voices. And I think that's why that platform completely transformed my life in a way, is
Yes.
because first of all, I had never used my voice in that manner, nor had I really heard people use their voices authentically before. Like we're so used to being presented with information
Yes.
instead of actually sharing our heart and mind with people. So it's so different to me in that space, and I love that it's kind of infused into me no matter what now, like, whether I'm doing a podcast,
Yeah.
whether I'm sharing about my business, whether I'm sharing about my personal life, I'm finding ways to be okay with my voice and how I just kinda get out there and be myself, and that's been something that's been hidden for so long, so it's like now I'm at this place where I'm open, which I know you probably never had this problem, Jen, you're very much more extroverted, you know?
You know what's so funny? I have been discovering that I'm actually
Are you in between?
an introverted extrovert or an extroverted introvert. I don't remember
Same.
which one it is, but
Yeah.
it's when, yes, I'm comfortable to talk on the fly. I don't need prep or questions, or I could go into a group of complete strangers and I will make friends in that group. Like I don't have an issue with that, but I find that when I'm done doing that, I'm like so exhausted.
Yes.
Or sometimes I will commit. And then when the commitment comes up, I'm like, oh,
Oh,
what did
I
I
know I gotta do
commit
that.
to? Right. But you're right. Like, I feel I think I was raised having a voice. In my family, we were very loud and boisterous. And
Yeah.
so if you wanted to get your point across, you had to kind of speak up. Like, and I, and not everyone has that, of course. And I remember you coming to Clubhouse and you were more soft spoken, and um and not, you didn't have to be pushed to give your information, but you would take a back seat until you felt like a little bit of camaraderie, and then you would kind of speak. And now you're like, amazing. Like, I'm so happy that you didn't lose your voice, because I do know some people that gained a voice
Yeah.
on Clubhouse and then don't have it anymore, like lost it or whatever. And we need your voice. So
Yeah, and
yeah.
for everybody listening, like, you don't have to be on Clubhouse to find your voice, but
No.
it just so happens that that pivotal moment for me and many other people, and plus the connection with Jen here, is that it was a pivotal moment that I was open for and I wasn't closed off anymore, and I think
Yes.
that's kinda where I was
You were
thinking my head
looking
was
or
leading that way.
seeking.
I
Mm-hmm.
was seeking community, and I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know how to find it or didn't know how to receive it, and I remember crying with everybody, and I was letting my emotions out, my frustrations out, and for some reason,
It was
y'all were the ones that
beautiful.
caught me, right? Like
But it was beautiful.
yeah.
And there was so many people that grew. I also think like Threads is one of the sort of the newer social media, and I find that to be so much more open. There's of course people on there trying to do, sales, but they quickly find that it's not real helpful.
Yeah.
People don't really like that. And so I've seen a lot of people that kind of gained a voice through Clubhouse and then weren't on Clubhouse anymore are now over there, and I'm seeing them see or say things that are so, like, the world needs to hear it. Like, if there's one piece of advice from this podcast, the world needs to hear you. It
Yes.
whatever you feel or want to say, the world needs more of that. So definitely
Yes.
speak up.
Yes, because you would never know that a lot of people might be thinking it, and you're the one that says it, and you're like, "I thought so too."
And you found that a lot on Clubhouse.
Yeah.
Someone would say something and everyone would go, yeah, 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 yeah. Like it felt it felt like your own cheerleading club. It was amazing. And if you don't like cheerleaders, I don't, it just felt like you were at a family Christmas party where everyone's having opinions and everyone's supporting you. And it was amazing, that
Yeah,
magic.
it's not like when you go like, that's the difference between the in-person too, like, you tend to gravitate, at least my personality tends to gravitate towards people I already know, and I
Yes.
know it's not it's one of those things that I'm navigating, right? Like, okay, do I need to meet somebody new today? I don't necessarily set goals like that, but it's like, but when you watch yourself and you're aware of how you are in social situations, that's a really powerful thing. And
When,
especially what I learned about myself in Clubhouse versus on other media platforms. And then now when I'm going out to in-person events, I'm like, okay, Jen, check yourself, right? Like check yourself and like go connect with somebody, sit at a different table, consistently throwing myself into situations.
yes. Whenever I go to any kind of event of any kind, um, whether I'm speaking or I'm a participant, doesn't even matter. Every day, so if it's 2 days or 3 days, or if it's one day and it's morning and afternoon, I switch tables. And I'll tell when I do sit down like that first day, I'll say, no, I just want to make sure you know that I'm going to be changing tables in the afternoon and I'm going to do the same thing for the other 2 days. So I don't want you to be offended at
Oh,
all. I just want to put myself out of my comfort zone, because I know for me personally and also for my business, every single time I'm nervous or uncomfortable or step out of my comfort zone, I have immense growth. So now I'm seeking it. And yes, it's not comfortable, not even for people like me, but I do it because if I'm paying for an event or if I'm speaking at an event, I want to meet more people. I want to grow my network, and not just network for business purposes, but personal purposes. I find some of my best friends that way.
oh my gosh, yes, I totally agree with you on that. And this is reminding me that this is what I'm doing this weekend. We're having a Boss Babes retreat, and I'm one of the speakers, one of four. And they approached me to present, and I was like, yeah. And so, but I'm also
And then you're
thinking
like,
about
oh,
and
and then okay, I'm
then I'm
gonna
like,
do it.
"Wait a second, Jen, remember, just because 'cause you're a speaker does not mean you need to go off and sit at a table alone." Even though my head prep
Go to
is
the
that, like,
hotel.
isolate a little bit, make sure I have everything ready. You know how it is as a photographer, you've
Yes.
got
Yes.
30,000 things going through your head, and you can't let your
Yes.
client know. And it's
I know. I
and then it's the
know.
same thing with networking, like how to, just be cognizant of my mind and in things and observant about what I'm feeling and thinking, but also knowing that I do need to make myself uncomfortable. So it's like, I
Yeah.
have that coming up. So thanks for the reminder for that, Jen. And I think
Yay!
we can all remember, like, even this conversation wouldn't have happened if I hadn't reached out and said, like, oh my God, why haven't I had you on my podcast yet? Well, it's because I've been going a mile a minute. I don't know if
Of
anybody's
course.
noticed, but I'm going a
Yeah.
mile a minute. But this is my
Yeah.
happy place right here. This is my happy place with it. Consider it my little clubhouse minute where I'm sitting with my friends and we're
Yes.
talking about things that really to me matter. And even if I do my little part, that's what I want to do. So I'm so glad you could come and sit with me today, Jen.
Yay, thank you so much. It's been
So
so fun.
yes, and as we're rounding out our conversation, I promised everybody that I would sit with some people and, ask you if you have a tattoo. Do you have a fun tattoo story to share with us? And please tell me everything because I need to know because I don't think I've ever had this conversation with you. And I think that's half the fun of this. My podcast is that I like surprises.
Yes. So I have a heart. It's about this big, and for those listening, it's like the size of my like thumbnail.
Oh,
Um, and I went to San Diego. This was after I was divorced from my first husband. And I went with my friend Renee, and we went to San Diego in the middle of the day. I went to a tattoo place because I wanted this heart tattoo. I just wanted it. And he drew it really big, like the size of my
of
hand.
course he did.
Like, of course. And I kept saying smaller, smaller. And at one point he goes, well, it's the same price. And I'm like, yeah, but it's on my body for life. So make it smaller. But the one positive thing that he did was I wanted a pink heart. He told me to make it red because it'll fade to pink, and it's pink. And I am getting another one that I have wanted for years. And so I'm going to be doing that coming up soon. Um, I love elephants. Elephants are like my favorite animal in the world.
Aw.
And so on my forearm, I'm getting a mom elephant, and it's kind of cartoon style, holding a tail of a baby, holding a tail of the next baby. And so I have my four children on there with my, like, that's something I've been
Oh
talking
my
about for
gosh.
years.
This is the cutest thing. I'm so glad you surprised me even more with that. Oh my gosh, I am so excited. You're gonna have to tell me the minute you get it.
It'll be all over social media. Don't
Yes.
you mess, don't, you won't miss it, I promise. My daughters and I are all going to get a tattoo as well. We're talking about, we're Italian, and so we're going to get the saying, well, Italian and Scottish, so I don't know which one, but we're going to get the saying, like mother, like daughter tattoo
Oh,
somewhere. We don't know where, but we're planning it.
oh my gosh. And Jen, so I just recently did the 23andMe genetic thing, and
Yes.
they said I have 32.7% British Irish. And I'm
Wow.
literally going to Ireland in a couple of weeks.
Are you
So
so excited?
I am so excited. I was already planning a tattoo and now I'm even more excited.
That is so fun. Oh, I can't
I
wait.
picked out a Celtic knot that every angle you look at it, there's a heart.
Oh,
Every
you just gave
angle.
me the chills all over my body.
I know. I'm so excited. It's so different when you know you actually have the blood of the country that you're going to now. Like I feel
Yes,
like I'm even more connected. And so I'm
exactly.
so excited to add to my little forearm here. I know it's been a minute since you've seen me, but I've got these little
Yeah.
tiny flash tattoos now from Vegas and New York City, and now I'm gonna have Ireland and the
Oh my
UK.
God. Forget the passport stamping. You're going to have your body as your passport
And I
stamp.
have to tell you, it's all because of a clubhouse friend. I'm just
Oh,
telling you. Our dear friend Kristen, who was a catering, she
yes.
I met her in person last year.
Oh
Just
my
finally.
God.
And so she's like, "Have you heard of this thing on TikTok for the $10 tattoos in Las Vegas?" And I was like, "No, let's go."
My daughters want to do that. Like, that's probably where
It
we'll
is
go.
such a
It's
cool
so
place.
cool.
It is a real tattoo place. Don't let anybody freak you out. It's a real place. It's awesome. I love it.
Awesome. That
So, and
sounds
as
great.
I hate to say and round it up, but oh my gosh, it's been so much fun to have you today. I'm looking
Mm,
forward to hearing more about your new tattoo coming up. And then I know I want to connect with you after I get my next couple of ones done too, just so we can
absolutely.
have this moment together. And
That sounds awesome. And we need to not let so much time go by
oh my gosh.
chatting. I mean, we need to, that is a goal of mine this year, is to be better at reaching out and touching different people that I've met and love along the way that I feel like I have no time for, in air quotes. So yeah.
Yes. I really appreciate that you just said that because I was gonna say, what advice and inspiration would we leave people with? You know what? That's
That's
good
it.
enough right there. is make time. I don't even care if you haven't spoken to them in a year, 3 months, 2 years. Just sit down and have a chat with them. You
And
would
they'll
not
appreciate
believe
it.
how much it lights me up to see Jen again today. And I'm just so excited. I know that we're totally like doing a dual purpose here, but I feel like it's authentic to who we are.
Totally. Totally. That's exactly correct.
Yes, and so I wanted to honor that in you because I know how much you treasure your time and I appreciate and love that about you. And so
Oh,
I am so glad that you could come and I will look forward to our next chat.
yay! You bet. Anytime you name it, and I will be there.
Awesome. And of course, whenever I get over to California again.
Exactly. Exactly. Because we met for the first time, like in person,
Yes.
which is not usual. So it was amazing.
Yes, and believe it or not, one of my signature talks right now is about my styled shoots. And so, hello, the ones I did in California come up a lot.
They're beautiful. They were so beautiful.
So fun and so great to see you again. So I will wrap up this episode, everyone. And thanks again, Jen, for coming to hang out. We know that Jens rule the world. And so I'm so glad we could rule the world together in this moment.
Jen squared for life.
All right, everybody. I'll talk to you soon and see you on the next episode.